see the data for the crops. There will be something similar for this.
This is interesting.
Right now we are just one cooperator here, but then we'll add more for the dairy. For the crop side we have so many.
Locally owned district.
But here it's not here. We have it in Aquila and other sites. Office growers and grape growers.
Flocking in there.
It's implemented. Yeah, not for the emission sensing.
Sucking electricity.
Yeah. So I think we will get started.
You are right. I actually think that
Let's start. Okay, good morning. Can you please come closer? We are going to show a few things on the TV, so it's better you are close to the TV, please. Yeah, and then I don't see. Oh, we are doing the YouTube live, so a lot of folks are on the YouTube too. So, well, good morning. I hope you all are doing good. So this is our first field day in the dairy. So if we do something wrong, forgive us. Right, thanks for coming down here. I don't think the people on the YouTube can smell and feel the environment here, but yeah, and you guys are going to miss a lot of good food. So again, I think we are doing this Climate Smart Dairy Field Day. The project that we have is from the, you can see here, the Washington State Conservation Commission. The funding is coming from the Climate Commitment Act. They have a program called Sustainable Farms and Fields, and we have this one-year project. Dr. Brigitte also has another project that she will talk about. Really what we are doing is, in a big picture, we have built this low-cost greenhouse gas and weather sensing system, which is like a wireless sensor network that you can deploy throughout your dairy farm and see the emissions coming out and get the baseline. And then Cornell team, Dr. Franco's team here, they are going to use that data and then come up with some mitigation scenarios where you can add feed additives to the animals, or if it's a dairy manure, you can add biochar in certain concentration and so forth. So our project is ongoing, but we are really here to demonstrate what we have, and I think Austin and Michael, they are going to take us on a nice tour. They have a lot of efforts going on in the regenerative farm systems, and yeah, we are excited to see that as well. So just to introduce myself, I am Loco. I'm with WSU Ag Weather Network. We'll talk about Ag Weather Network a little bit later. Again, this project is part of that. My program again is more focused on precision agriculture. We do several things, and one of the things that we are doing for several years now is bringing the cyber physical system to agriculture. It is a distributed wireless sensor network in the orchards and vineyards, monitoring and management. And I didn't know that I'm going to go into dairies, but here I am. So cool. So I think with that, you can see the program. You know, it's a very laid-back program. So feel free to stop us and ask any questions. With that, I will have Dr. Franco say a few words, and also our host Austin also going to say a few words, and then we roll into the program. Dr. Franco.
Thanks everyone for coming. Thanks to the farm, Austin, Michael, thanks for all your support and help with this project. It's amazing to be back in Washington. I'm so happy to keep working with the dairy industry in Washington, even that I'm at Cornell right now. So this was a collaboration that we started with Dr. Lab around 3 years ago when I moved to Washington State, and we kind of tweaked the technology that he had for specialty crops and put it into dairy. The initial idea was to develop some sensors to measure health and emissions from dairy farms and try to help the farmers access the carbon markets with more accurate measurements. So that's what we're trying to do. We're happy to show the hard work from Quechua and all what Geneva have done back at Cornell to help us validate these sensors and provide affordable tools for the dairy farmers to, again, be more sustainable and get some of the benefits of these carbon markets. So, yeah, thank you.
And here is Austin, who is the owner of the Royal Dairy. Going to say a few words.
Thank you. Hopefully you can hear me over the crowd gate. I was just thinking this morning a little bit. This area is pioneered by my grandparents. That's the first generation, or the first people that really were here. Michael tells a story about, even in the journals of Lewis and Clark, this area was pretty desolate. Even the natives avoided a lot of this area because of what it didn't have, the resources it didn't have, mainly water. But my grandfather Wells, on my dad's side, he was a pioneer here, and he actually went to school at Cornell University. He graduated there with his PhD in ag economics. And my grandfather on my mother's side went to WSU. And so really this is Michael's and the team's brainchild. So I was not involved in this collusion, but it's really kind of cool for me, and actually I guess in a way spiritual for me to have kind of this collusion come together with Cornell and Wazoo and everything that's going on. And I think it would be, I need to mention that same direction and inspiration has been very, very clear as we have at Royal here, as we've really made intentional strides to have more sustainable farms and fields, not the grant itself, but just the practicality of those actions. As we've gone on this journey personally with our farm, our neighbors, and our family, it's been a wonderful journey to help us try to understand how to lose less of these incredible natural resources that these cattle are such a part of. We call them greenhouse gases, we call it methane, we call it ammonia, we call it all sorts of different things, but at the end of the day, that's fertilizer for our fields, that's how we grow our crops. And as we link our different farms together to bring this diversity together, to grow more with less, it's been a journey, much like this has been a journey with both my grandparents kind of coming together. This journey for us has been very fun, it's been very directed, and we're very grateful for all of you, Cornell, Wazoo, and for all the experts that help us along the way. So please, we are an open book, answer any questions. I don't know if we talked about lunch. We probably need to take a lunch order here before long so I can get that in. Michael, is that right?
Yeah.
So we'll have a hayride over here when it's time, probably in an hour or something. We'll jump on the hayride and do a little loop. But thanks for coming.
Thank you, Austin.
Where the restrooms are?
Yeah, so I'm going there, Maya.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, sorry, I missed that part. So some housekeeping, and Maya is my boss here, so thank you, Maya. So if you have to use restroom, you have to go to the door that is all the way towards the end, and then on the right is the restroom. If you turn left, there are cows, so you're in the wrong place. Yeah, and then I think food, let's take care of the food business. Let's raise hands if you are vegetarian. Okay, 5. And how about non-vegetarian? How many is that? I don't know. Can somebody count?
There's 30. Yeah, I got it.
Okay. So let's do maybe 7 or 8 veggies, and then the rest is just non-veggies. Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect. And we have a nice local restaurant that's going to take care of this. So yeah, thank you. Okay, so let's get rolling. Quechua here is going to talk about the type of sensors that we have developed to get the localized weather and emission mapped. I'm here to talk a little bit about Ag Weather Network. I know some of us are WSU, but just in case we have some growers here or farmers, how many of you know Ag Weather Network? David knows this. Okay. All right. Cool. Yeah. So just to say, we established in '89 and 2006, we kind of scaled up to 126 stations, and since then we were a little bit dormant. We didn't change much. But last few years we are changing a lot of things. Again, thanks to the Climate Commitment Act, we got some funding to build additional mesoscale towers. We are 360 weather stations strong now. We have about 226 of our own weather stations across the state, and then we have a lot of private growers adding their weather stations, right? And we are also now scaling that to your farm. So if you're interested to do distributed wireless sensor network and so forth, we are also accepting that. We just rolled out on smart farm ecosystem that accepts all this, and then you can tie all your sensors, and we clean your data and then tie that to our decision support tools that we offer through our portal, right? Just to talk a little bit about our website, we are at weather.ws.edu. We have 25,000 registered users there. We host a lot of models on crop and human, and now we also have the animal health. For example, one of the tools that we offer is the cattle comfort index, right? So we take the weather data for nearest weather station. We have good forecast of weather data for that station, and then we tie the cattle comfort index that you can see how the index is going to change with respect to like next few days. And then a lot of cattle feeders in the basin, they are now using it to change the animal diet if there's a heat stress coming or cold stress coming and so forth, right? So all the data and the tools are free, so feel free to register and use that, I guess, right? So with that and whatever we are doing today, the greenhouse gas emission sensing network that we have deployed at Royal Dairy, and in future we might have more cooperators, all that data would also tie to our portal actually, and you can see the data and decision support tools there. Right, so with that I think I will have Keshwa. Keshwa is a PhD student working very hard on this project, and he has all the sensors that you see are assembled by him and then calibrated by him, and you will see as you do the tour, he has climbed the ladders with Ed and there and deploy all the sensors, and we are collecting data now. So with that, I think Keshwa, you should start introducing the sensing network.
Thank you, Dr. Kun. I'm Keshav, I'm a PhD student. So,
Very close to you.
okay, hope you can see this screen. Okay, good. So, as you aware, so now we are talking about climate and GHG mitigation. You know, there are a lot of things happening on orchards and cattle farming. So, there are a lot of the carbon footprint agencies like IPCC, EPA, the CARB, the USDA climate hubs. So they have their own like limitation, restriction, their goal. Like for example, 2050, we have their like goal called net zero GHG, net zero greenhouse, and also they are calling about GHG neutrality. So we have to stick with those the goal, limitation, and restriction. Okay. So when we are doing the research, so we found that we have to quantify the greenhouse gases. So like honestly, there are like a couple of GHG quantification system in the market, but we found that there's like a huge gap between those methods. Like first of all, we have like a head accumulated chamber, for example, green peat. So I guess you may know about that. Then also we have open circuit chambers. Then we have the tracer methods, and also we have the bolus, the solving capsules. But they have their own pros and cons. Like for example, the cost of this like green is like 80K, and this is like the open circuit is like $1 million. So this is so when you use the tracers, for mostly the cows are getting stressed because we have to put some cannula, some the tubes, and a lot of things here. So they like few research on that. So cows getting stressed by using those things. So there's a like gap to that measuring the greenhouse gas. So then we came up with a solution. This is our GHG, the greenhouse gas while sensing network. So we can install our sensing network anywhere, like in feed bank, pre-installed beds, the milking parlor, or chambers, anywhere. Then we have our own cloud database and web portal to monitor the data and store the data. Then the farmers or the stakeholder can get the data. This is the first version of the sensing node. This is the version 1, and we here it's like the passive sampling. We didn't use any pumping or anything. We just measure the greenhouse gas in vitro. This is our new version, the greenhouse gas sensing node. This we use that active sampling here. Okay, I will explain one by one. Okay, here. This is our system. Don't worry about it. Seems like too complicated. No, it's just the sensor. The rest of the things are just add-ons. I'll explain. Here we have like solar panel on top. So also we have inbuilt battery. It will last for 4 days without any power source, solar or the DC power. Then here we have 3 individual sensors. The technology is NDIR, that means non-depressive IR sensor. That NDIR means that it's like cutting-edge sensor for the gas sensing. For the first version, we use electrochemical, so we found that it's not good, it's not reliable, there are like issues. Then we come with this one. So then can you hear me? No. Okay. Can you hear me? Okay. So as you, if you have any experience with green peat, you know, so changing the filters, changing the standard calibration gas was, you know, they had a lot of things to do. Here it's pretty simple. So yeah, simply we can just remove this part. This is the filter. We have used one hydro filter. We can just pull up and we can push it. So we have to change the filter like every 6 months. This is pretty good. Then yeah. So as I told you, there are like a few options. For example, if you just need to quantify the greenhouse gas, you have to just buy one of these and put like barn, the pistol ban or milk parlor anywhere and get the reading. So we have inbuilt screen, and also there's like SD card. You can just grab the SD card from here. It's very easy. This is the simplest way to it's a pump. Okay, it's measure the greenhouse gas. Then for the step 2, if you know it like more, so we introduce like mobile app and web dashboard. Yeah, this is our web portal. Also, we have mobile app for that. For now, I can show that real time some data nearby this barn. Yeah, this is the Royal City, Royal Dairy. Okay, then we have to select the date range, and yeah. I guess we are not getting internet, right? Yeah, we have some internet issue. It's loading. Yeah, I'll show it once. So then also we have a mobile app. So, Yeah, this is the mobile app. So we can use the mobile app as well. We can just measure the greenhouse gas emission and some with the data. Also, as I told you, these are the add-ons. Like if you need the weather data along with the greenhouse gas, you can buy this at post 41 per meter group. This is weather station, all-in-one weather station. You can buy this one and plug it here. This is add-on. Also, suppose you need like air quality, then particulate matter and the VOCs, product compounds. You can buy this is purple air. You can just plug it here. Okay, so then after that we can integrate any like SDR12 sensor. Like suppose you want like a soil measurement, soil sensor. So we can do like simple firmware upgrade, and we can attach the soil sensor here. Then we can monitor all the data from here. It's very simple. Then this is like LoRa gateway. So suppose you need like 20, 30 of this sensing node. Then we can deploy the sensing node everywhere, and this is the central gateway. Then it will communicate with this gateway, and we can see all the data from here. That's an intention. Don't worry. Yeah.
So, what is LoRa?
LoRa is like long range radio communication. So it like, for example, this gateway we can communicate within 10 kilometers. So we just need one. For example, for this royal dairy, we're going to deploy one LoRa gateway here. Then it and like the 25. Yeah, one is enough. One gateway is enough.
Can you say that again? You broke. So, just say that 25 nodes are going to
Yeah, so we have 25 nodes here in Royal Dairy and one LoRa gateway. Yeah, that's the setup.
And so this saves a lot of money for connectivity, and you don't need sales subscription and so forth. You just use the LoRaWire to push all the things.
Yeah, so yeah, we just need one of them, and we can add on all the sensors. Like, yeah. The limit is like we can attach, I would say, 64 nodes for one node. Efficiently, then we can go more like 128, yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Is it line of sight?
No, there's like omni antenna. It should not be line of sight. Yeah, but we have like different kind of the antennas for the different range. Yeah, like 3 decibel and 10 decibel, 9 decibel. Yeah.
So, do you have to install it in the barns or stalls?
No, doctor. This is the gateway. We can install in like here, like in the office.
Yeah.
Then yeah, since not we are installing in the barns and yeah, that's all.
Like it.
Yeah, so the sensing network is sending the data to the gateway.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
And do you have like a control station without any background? Or to give you background? You assume background is zero,
No.
or what do you do?
Okay, good question. So we just need it and power for this one.
No. The baseline.
So
So,
Yeah, so David, what we are doing now, and Dr. Franco will talk about this, we have deployed the sensors. We are collecting what is the baseline emissions and weather data now. And when we start doing the treatments, we'll see the emission reduction with the treatments.
But if you're trying to quantify emissions from the dairy, do you need a background of no dairy to subtract, or is it insignificant?
Yeah, that's a good question. We had planned to deploy one in away from the dairy. Right. So we have one, and then I was about to say something.
We're also going to explain later the validation process that involved that zero emission part that Keshu already so he performed some validation where there is no emission ammonia, CO2 or methane to get like completely zero measurement from that, and then we put it in respiration chambers with Geneva's work, and we completed the validation in different scenarios to account for what you're asking. Yeah, that's crucial to get accurate measurements, otherwise we don't know what we're getting, and that's pretty much what there are some solutions out there. They're not well validated, they don't have the background behind to back them up, and that's why we're doing extensive testing and validation of these.
Also, I think Keshwa has good calibration protocols developed for all these sensors. Keshwa, you want to talk about that a little bit?
along with the validation, we did calibration, like we did span calibration, zero calibration, and we did some environmental compensation, like we did some environmental compensation for temperature, humidity, and the pressure. So that by doing those compensation, we can omit that baseline, like that's what we did. Yeah. After those like calibration, yeah, we got like quickly accessing results. So we install like post sensing node in at Cornell University in a respiratory chamber. You know, this respiratory chamber is the gold standard for the GJ quantifying. So this is the red line. Can you see? Yeah, there are two lines. So we got like 97% correlate with the carbon dioxide measurement with the gold standard without sensor, and also we got 75% correlation with the methane. Yeah. So here we have ammonia, but unfortunately in the respiratory chambers we don't have ammonia measurement. Yeah. So yeah, that's all. So we face several challenges. Yeah. Some sensor node was hit by the cows. Some sensor node accidentally hit by some workers, and we had some power issues. For example, here you know, so this area is like heavy dusty. So our solar panel got covered with dust layer, and we have to clean it. We have to change the battery, that sort of things. Yeah. Unfortunately, we don't have any like single phase power receptacle in the barns. We have to fully rely on solar power and the battery. Yeah. Okay, that's all. For the future works, we are working on some machine learning model to detect some specific diseases and some stresses. Yeah, we are working on that. Yeah, yeah, that's all. Thank you. Any question?
How much area one sensor can easily cover? How much barn area one sensor can cover easily?
Okay, good question. We are still working on it. So our plan was to deploy solar sensors along with the barn and quantify that. So how many sensors we need to cover those barn. We're still working on that. Yeah.
And can this sensor be used in open fields? Like, for example, if I want to check the emissions from rice crop, and can this be used for that one as well?
Exactly. Yeah. We can use for any application. Yeah. Suppose, as I mentioned, if you know the with the data or like where the VOCs, you can just buy one of them and as an add-on, plug it here and measure the data.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, anybody has any other question for Keshwa? Yes, sir.
Just trying to imagine how, if you're trying to quantify emissions for the market, for example, if that's your goal, and you're in Sunnyside, and you have many dairies, and gases are moving around, how do you start to separate out your target operation? Maybe you'll get to that.
I mean, I won't get to that, but I think Dr. Franco he knows a company who's using satellite data to see how the emissions move, right?
Yeah.
And also I mean, of course we have now one cooperator, but if everybody deploys this sensor, then we can also see the movement of the flux, I guess, right? So, Dr. Franco.
Something else that we're gonna be doing is trying to measure emissions in different types of farms and include this information in modeling systems to improve the accuracy of those modeling systems that are currently used to estimate the methane emissions or like environmental impact from dairy farms, and that's another way. But as Keshwa mentioned, we're going to be using the information that we collect from some farms to develop AI models to help improve the accuracy of these measurements, compare them with satellite, drone measurements. So those are the next ideas because wind is going to change. During summer we turn off the fans and how is that affecting the emissions from each individual sensor. Those are things that we're still need to troubleshoot and that's why we're doing this type of deployments in real farms to make the improvements that we need.
It's also why we have so many here on this site. We have, what, 24 or something like that?
And some of them are in the parlor, some of them are in the barn, some of them are out in the worm farm, out in the compost yard. and they're all about this far off the ground. Unless we have a super inversion, we're catching pretty much everything that we're, and only what we're, the fluxes that we're releasing. If that makes sense. Does that kind of answer?
Yeah.
We're getting rid, or we're looking at least a lot of the variables
Wind is an issue,
to be able to quantify that.
Cost of one sensor.
I'm gonna throw a number there, a range, 1,600 to 2,000, and that's without the LoRa gate or the weather station or the purple air. So if we want that addition, that's gonna increase the cost. But when you compare with the other solutions that are in the market, it's pretty affordable, and the idea is to deploy a big network, what we have here. Nobody's gonna put more than 2 greenfield beans in a farm. They're $80,000. It takes a year to get one of those units, so that's also an advantage of this system.
Yeah, but this is again WSU price that doesn't account. This is non-for-profit, I guess, right?
Yeah.
And students are doing this. When we scale up, the cost might go up, I guess, right? So yeah.
I would love to know the range it can measure with it. You know, what is the accuracy and what range? How many ppm, for instance?
Minimum and maximum.
Yeah, so for example, for the carbon dioxide sensor, we can measure up to 0 to 50,000 ppm. For the methane, we can measure 0 to 30,000 ppm. And for the carbon, so ammonia, 0 to 100 ppm. Yeah, that's the range.
I think we don't have the information to say the spam that we can measure with each one, and that's something that we need to do more testing. We're gonna show later how we validate them in control environments. But yeah, for sure we need to know the range, how far out we can measure things with these ones, and how many. But that's probably the next steps. Deploy these, use computer models to try to help improve that. Whether we need 20, 50.
Yeah, I want to add one more thing. So yeah, we assume it depends on the the wind patterns, wind gusts, wind speed, and the structures, the wall, everything. We have to come with the model and yeah. Now it's working. We got the internet. Yeah. So yeah, so we can see there's the methane, the ammonia, and yeah, along with that the weather the things. Yeah. I guess ethically I cannot say like the emission. Yeah. Yeah.
So can you talk also a little bit about why we changed from passive to active?
Oh yeah. So the first version was the passive sensing node. So we didn't use any like diaphragm pump, or we used the electrochemical sensor. So we got several issues like, so without the pumping, so the entering the air to that the chambers and the living is it's not good. So we are getting like most electric readings. That's why we came up with the version 2 and the NDR sensors. Yeah, this is pretty good. Yeah.
So that was to improve the accuracy of sensing and so on.
Yeah. Good.
I have a suggestion. If you could please add nitrogen oxides as well, like Na2 and N2O, as well as sulfur oxides, then it can be used in crop gas emission as well, and it can easily detect the other emissions, so that would help it better.
Yeah, honestly, I was working on that. So there are a couple of nitrous oxide sensors market, but they are patented. So there are like few sensors that we can measure the liquefied nitrous oxide, not the gases one. So it's super expensive. Like it's like more than 1,000 one sensor. So then yeah, for now we just.
What about sulfur oxides?
Honestly, I didn't check about.
Wait, yeah, but if we go back 3 years ago when we started working on this, the initial grant that we wrote with Dr. Lab include nitrous oxide sensing, but as we mentioned, we couldn't find something affordable that it's actually accurate and but yeah, and not only for crops. but there is a big interaction between dairy and crops. Like we grow
Yes.
crops to feed the cattle, so that's essential for us in the future. I'm hoping to get those.
Thank you very much for a good presentation.
Okay, thank you, Keshwal. So I think we'll move on to Dr. Franco, but I just want to say, again, one housekeeping. If you need water or drinks, the coolers are there, so feel free. Right? So, okay, let's move on to Dr. Franco then, or Geneva is starting?
Yes.
So Dr. Geneva is also with Dr. Franco's lab. She's a postdoc there, and she's going to talk about how she's using the data from these sensors. Okay.
I don't have nearly as many show and tell things, so if you want to come in so you can see the screen, that's pretty much my show and tell. You guys want to come on in? So hopefully this answers some of the validation questions that y'all had. Obviously we talked a little bit about respiration chambers. Has anyone here seen a respiration chamber? Photos or in person? So we have a picture of our Cornell respiration chamber here. Feel free to come on up and take a look. We have 4 chambers. As Keshwa and Franco mentioned, millions of dollars to install. What it is, it's a room with a tie stall, and you can measure the total emissions from the cow out of either end. Everything she's producing, we're measuring all of it in total. We account for door opening and closing, all of that. This is the gold standard of measure. So we keep saying gold standard because this is what we want to be comparing all of our sensors to. Whatever you're testing out and trying, we want to make sure that it's aligning well and well correlated with what this gold standard measure is. And we've mentioned there's other options out there already, right? Have y'all heard of green feed apart from today? No, it's not. Okay, so there's a green feed has become, I would say, one of the more popular on-farm measures of greenhouse gases. This is the basic structure right here. Basically, you put in a little bit of grain, cow approaches, while she's eating, it's taking rapid measurements of what she's emitting, and then it backlogs into a model and calculates what her predicted total emissions are. There's been a lot of research into this. This is a piece of equipment that's costing hundreds of thousands of dollars, so a prettier price point than the millions I mentioned before, but still a little cost prohibitive, right? For something that expensive, you'd really want to make sure that it's highly correlated, and it does a moderately good job. Talking about 0.68. So when we're talking about the R value, the higher the number is really what we're going for, right? We want to make sure it's 100% correlated. That would be our ideal. So moderately correlated. Putting a few of those on the farm, again, pretty cost prohibitive, with some moderate correlation to respiration chamber data. And that's why we got really excited when Keshwa started building these sensor nodes. So now we were just talking about cost, right? So even at the high point, we're talking about a $2,000 sensor that's going in and taking all of those measurements. And if, I can't remember, in each barn, how many is in each barn? 6 in each one, right? On either side, just down the bunk. So you don't have to install this gigantic head gate, really expensive, take up bunk space. This just goes right where the cows are eating. So we were really excited to see that there's going to be some, maybe it's higher correlated, maybe we have a cheaper option here that's really less cost prohibitive, right? Overcome that barrier. We have to make sure it works. So when we do validation studies, again, we're always comparing back to the gold standard. And Keshwa already flashed some figures up. I'm going to bring them up again and we'll talk a little bit about it. But to validate this meter, we did 16 multiparous Holsteins. We did 14 days in each respiration chamber. There's only 4 chambers, so 4 cohorts of them. We milked them twice a day, took daily yields, composition data, measured daily dry matter intakes on an individual level, water intakes on an individual level, constant temperature monitoring during using a vaginal hobo, daily physical exams. We took TMR samples, blood samples, really evaluating all aspects of health. Because while our goal was to validate this meter, we also wanted to look at how are greenhouse gas emissions really associated with cow health. It's pretty clear there's a lot of pressure on farmers in terms of climate smart dairying and impact on the environment. Certainly we have a motivation with the carbon credit market and hitting that bottom line. But what we're finding really interesting is a growing amount of data as we're exploring how to measure greenhouse gas emissions, that there is an association with cow health and longevity. So when you want to factor into all these great models that are coming out on how you calculate the value of that carbon credit market, I think part of that needs to be talking about how is that impacting longer term production, how many lactations are you seeing out of these cows with different emissions, and that really needs to be factored back into your return on investment when you're looking at something like this. So that's something we're already trying to do. And we'll talk a little bit more about how we want to continue to do that in the future. This is a great controlled environment, but we want to see this happening on commercial dairies, and we want to see how this is really playing out in real time. So this is what we did to validate. And they're much smaller, so I apologize, you gotta squint real good to see, but these are basically the same figures that Keshra threw up. So we're seeing pretty high correlation with gold standard respiration chambers. And 0.75, while a little bit lower than 0.97, is still doing a lot better than your hundreds of thousands of dollar chambers, right? So if we can hang on to that number, and we're already doing well in carbon dioxide, and this is only your second iteration of this, right? Yeah, so we're only up from here. So pretty exciting data that we can compare it, right? Anything else you wanted to add to any of this, or?
I guess the other thing that we can add to this is that we have so much data that we can develop an equation to adjust this to the 100%, which is the respiration chambers. I'm not aware of any other method that had this like intensive validation that many data points as we have. So that's something else that we will be working in the future to like improve the accuracy. We just deploy them and we know how far are we from gold standard, and we just get it as close as possible.
So the green feed methane was 0.68, that's what you propose.
Yes. And it's a little confusing too, interpreting some of the green feed data, some of the papers as we were coming up here, because they look at it on different scales, overall measures, and then daily measures, and then intensity versus yield. So there's a lot of different ways that they talk about it, but from what I could see for their daily measures, direct measures, they're looking at about 0.6. Yeah. All right. So now that we've validated, we've effectively said that this works. We have, in reality, probably 1,000 different projects we want to do with this. We're being realistic. But I only have 30 minutes here, so I'm just going to limit it to a couple. Some things that we're already doing here. Looking at different intervention strategies to help reduce methane emissions and greenhouse gases at the cow level, which is really great. Some of you have probably heard of Bovaer or 3NOP out of Malenko. That's a product that we want to look at a Bovaer fed pen, and compare it to a control fed pen, and how are emissions looking in comparison to their milk measures, tracking health and disease diagnosis. We're going to do some TMR sampling as well.
What is it? It's a supplement?
Yeah, oh, sorry. So Bovaer is a product that's, I don't remember the amount that gets fed, but a little bit gets mixed into TMR, and essentially what it's doing is working on at the enzyme, right, to reduce methane emissions in the cow.
It's about 66 milligrams
66
per
milligrams per kg.
So just to add in that part, it's crucial to thank Royal Dairy, because this part of the study won't be able to happen. Not that many farms in the US are feeding this product currently, and that's essential to have these collaborations with people that are actually moving forward with the industry, trying to implement these sustainable practices and see the value of validating and using these techniques. So it's always important to thank them for their support with this.
Yeah, flexibility with us as we're trying to track all of this and climbing up ladders, putting in sensors. But yeah, we're very excited about this, and I think one thing that is worth mentioning too is when you install these sensors and you're looking at a product like this, one thing that's unique about what Kesh was developing is all of the data that's coming off of this still belongs to the farm. This is not being carted off and belongs to someone else. This all stays at the farm. Certainly we're interested in the data for research purposes, but the idea is that you have your own application and in real time are monitoring changes that you're seeing at the farm level. Yeah, I think that's good. And then I'm going to hand it over to Franco to talk a little bit about what we're doing with manure in these.
Do you have any questions regarding the validation, or what can you explain before I jump into the next?
Yeah, there's other, it seems like I read about here and there other interventions in feed, different herbs, seaweed, all kinds of.
Yep.
Any of these promising enough that you could start to put them into this kind of study? I mean, is this a super expensive process what they're doing here with your contrast, or is it?
The Bovaer specifically, is that expensive?
Or could another product go through that
Absolutely.
type of, I mean, how expensive is it to do that?
So Bovaer on this dairy costs us about $1 million a year. So Bovaer, the product itself, costs us about $1 million a year to feed to all our cows here on this dairy. We've also got the other dairy in Moxie that we have fed Agalin, which is a seaweed, I think, product. And then what's the other one? Just there's a seaweed, and then there's a like a
Bromophore?
No, it's the essential oils essentially for the
Basil,
cows.
oregano,
Yeah, I don't remember what it's called, but we've tried both of those. We capture a lot of carbon credits from our different projects, and that's what's actually paying for the Bovaer. And so it's really we've got partners, just like they think the Royal Dairy. We've got partners that actually supply or fund a lot of these projects, not for us, but in concert with us. So we can't necessarily mention who they are, but they are who really makes this happen. They're pushing, or at least willing to fund a lot of these sustainable practices. But yeah, we're trying everything.
Okay.
We really will. Everything.
Got it.
Everything here,
So,
we're doing.
Is this the first validation in this kind of real world setting then for this product? Or has the company
As far as I know, yes.
Yeah, okay.
That was just released to the U.S. market a matter of a couple months ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
like in the last 6 months, and we were the first to get it essentially.
Can I add something to that question? Sorry. So yeah, there is only a few farms in the country feeding this. The company is restricting the use of Bovaer to farms that are actually getting some sort of benefit or are under some contracts that are getting paid. So there is no other place to get this done. There's a lot of validation in this in universities, not only in the US but in Europe, and the reductions of methane emissions go from 15 to 37, 38% across board. So it's very effective. Parts that we are not sure is whether the efficacy stays for long periods. So if we start feeding these two calves, will that affect, or they lose efficacy over time? And that was another idea. So to answer your question, yeah, we want to test, but we needed the tools to test in the field. So, and it will be efficient for anyone that wants to use them. We're not gonna hold to a technology. At some point, we're just planning to publish what we did, and here is the idea is to help the industry and the environment and everyone to get better.
And you'll see on the tour, but we're putting in an enclosed feed center there that actually has a micro package system on it. So we're going to be able to do every single truckload a different set of reduction, I guess, products. Does that make sense? So we'll have Bovaer next to an Agalin, next to a seaweed, next to a biochar. We'll have all of that happening at the same time.
So
or can at least.
There is more research.
I have, seen that it is also being used pretty heavily now in Northern Europe, Germany and Denmark and other places. And there's several things that comes out of it, exactly like you said, that they get, acclimated. Like momensin was actually used previously, and therefore over time. Plus, and that's actually a little question for me all the time. When you begin to change, the thermodynamics in the rumen of a cow, you see that the yields goes down. And I have something else to say. Should I be? Anyway, so. That's one thing I'll say about that. And then of course there's a lot in Europe, there's a lot of push right now. They don't want it because it might sit in the meat, there's things like that. Anyway, I would like to tell you we actually did a study, which is actually very interesting because I wanted to change the dynamics in the rumen. So what I was specifically going for was to change methanogens, the methane, the last part that makes the methane, and to instead make acetic acid, which is actually something the cow can benefit from. So what we did was we had to find somebody who could compete with that. We went actually to kangaroos, because kangaroos actually specifically we found when they are young, they are actually born without methanogens. So they had these acetogens, and we did a study. We did it in bioreactors, rumen bioreactors, but it showed actually that up to half a year we could keep the methane from being significant and only have acetic acid. So it's just a study I have. Everybody from the world wants to do more, but I don't have money for it right now.
Nice. Thanks for sharing that. Very interesting.
So, what was the purpose of adding biochar percentage just to reduce the emissions?
Yes, but that's the next thing that I was going to explain. So just go back to, is there any more questions about validation and power? And then I can jump and answer your question. I'm not ignoring it, but that was the next step. That was one of the objectives of the grant, I guess. Yeah, so let me explain this and I'll go to your question. So part of the idea was to help measure the big sections that emit methane from cows. 80% of the methane that's coming from dairy farms are coming from rumen fermentation or from manure management and storage. That's the big picture. So we were trying to place the sensors in these two sections and figure out some interventions. We were lucky to have a bower here, so we were looking for some other interventions. When we had the initial meeting with Michael and Austin, they said, oh, we have a lot of biochar and we're gonna implement the plan. And coincidentally, I was reading some papers on using biochar to retain more nutrients, which is the main goal, what Austin was mentioning before. How we keep some of these nutrients that are volatile or go in the water and prevent the or reduce the footprint of the dairy industry. So that's when we start doing, okay, let's put together some use for what they have, biochar and the manure, and see if we can retain more nitrogen and more phosphorus, some of the minerals that we are losing from the dairy manure that could be used to fertilize crops. There is also some health issues associated with phosphorus in the diets of the cows. This is going to affect their milk production, growth, reproduction, and that's another area that we're doing research. So my background, I'm a veterinarian. I included this, and this is not my strong suit, manure management. We needed as an objective in this area, and that's where I included. Don't kill me if I don't have the answers on all this. So looking into some research, we found that adding biochar at different ratios, the ones that I found were 15 to 50% will help to retain more nitrogen, reduce ammonia, and so on. And that's what we're testing. So we use these small chambers that are basically air sealed to anesthetize rodents in like biomedical research. And we put manure to a certain level, and we plug the sensors actually a really nice attachment. So we screw the sensor here, we put a silicone tube, and we connect it to our box, and we put manure there. We leave it to ferment for 55, 60 days, whatever we decide. And then knowing the dry matter of the feces or the manure at each specific farm, we can add the treatments. And we're currently doing that at Cornell, at the teaching dairy farm there. This is kind of the setup of the chambers with some manure. We're troubleshooting some weather conditions in New York. It's too cold, this is not insulated, so there is no fermentation because everything is basically 10 degrees Celsius. So nothing is happening, really low nitrogen coming out, ammonia, and we just need to add some insulation to get this fermentation happening. The hope is that we're gonna see some reductions in ammonia and nitrogen losses and phosphorus losses by adding these different biochar treatments, and then we're gonna implement those ratios in some of the manure composting piles here at Royal Dairy and measure with the sensors and see if what we find at Cornell in an in vitro setting, it's gonna match what we find here. So some of the outcomes that we're looking into: nitrogen, ammonia, methane, CO2, measure with sensors and physical samples that we're sending to a lab, and we're gonna collaborate with some colleagues to measure methanogenic bacteria and microbiome basically in the samples over time, and try to understand better the dynamics of this manure system. So, did I answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
It will no doubt help in retaining the nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus. But in the meanwhile, the incorporation of biochar will increase the methane emission. That would definitely be increased. So that's what right now we are doing. We are adding biochar, and we are seeing that methane emission is increasing.
Perfect.
Yes, I think you should check that one.
Okay.
No doubt it helps in retaining the nutrients, but in the meanwhile, it increases the methane production.
Cool. Quick question: is that on control environment outside where you?
Yeah, in the control environment.
Control environment.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
When I see an experiment like this, 50% biochar, biochar is not for free,
Yeah.
It is,
Yeah.
And then I'm also thinking, did you control for that? What if you put 50% dirt in? Wouldn't it actually give the same? You have to have some good.
Oh yeah, we have
controls,
controls. We have
Okay.
controls. Sorry,
Yeah.
I didn't mention that. Yeah, we have 2 controls, nothing. We have different ratios: 20, 35, 50% duplicates, and we're gonna replicate this.
And do you
over
have
time.
the same amount of manure?
Yeah, we are measuring the weight, the volume, and the dry matter before we put it.
Same amount of manure because you need that,
Yeah.
else you don't.
Correct. Mhm.
But I'll give you an example.
Yep.
I worked quite a bit of cat iron, types of material, and a lot of that, it has actually much better effect than biochar.
Okay.
And they are relative, they're used, for a lot of things also in agriculture.
Perfect.
So we have-
I think it will be great to talk after this,
Yes,
because
we
there are
will.
some really cool collaborations that we can
Yeah,
have
yeah,
out
yeah,
of this.
definitely.
Yeah, we're not
Yeah.
experts on manure management,
Yeah.
and we're just trying to
Yeah,
build
so
the
that's-
tools to measure and how to help the farmers.
These cat iron types of system was used in Denmark to actually remove the ammonia from
Mhm.
them. So
Perfect.
it is exactly.
Okay.
Are you guys tracking feed management or MEN?
Everything.
So, and part of the next couple of projects that we're planning
Do you want some
is
of
trying to get some count gates on the farm to measure individual intake. I'm gonna see if I can convince them. They're already.
Sorry, what's that?
I just throw you under the bus, trying to convince you about pulling the count gates.
Oh.
But we'll see. If not, we'll make it somewhere else. But that's essential. And we need to measure intakes and individual production to put everything in good context. If it's how much is going into a cow, how much is exiting, and how much is going into milk. But any other question so far? I guess Daniel mentioned some of the future directions that we're having. There are a couple of projects that we are running in parallel. We're doing a mastitis challenge to measure the effect of common diseases on emission. We're finding that cows that have natural infection have an increase in their methane intensity per energy corrected milk. I'm a veterinarian again, so my game is to prevent diseases and improve health and production in animals, and that's where we're going, trying to emphasize the importance of good care for the animals, how we treat them, how we diagnose diseases, and we're trying to meet with some farms in the area and back in New York to try to enroll them for the next cohort of studies. So if someone is interested, please reach out. There is a survey in one of the pamphlets, and we'll be happy to collaborate with you guys. Any more questions? Cool. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think we are now moving to. Speaker decided to sleep down there. We're going to move to Dr. Brigade. She's going to talk about climate smart manure management. Yeah.
Hello, everybody. Very, very nice to be here in this beautiful environment. And we are actually gonna come with some ideas and concepts and some of the research we done on specifically on treatment of manure. It's something before I actually also did a lot of biofuels and bio products. I worked a lot with converting manure into valuable food. And one of the things that always been obvious for me is that you don't waste. When you have waste, you have to validate it and you have to get some value out of it. And one of the things the first thing I figured out when we started, doing biogas conversion is that if it's of manure has already, it's already passed a very efficient movement. So it's actually not very efficient in itself. But if you use specific targeted pre-treatment, which is something we have developed and it's in full scale, actually right now, way back in Denmark, where I'm originally from, then you would see that you actually can get into the fibers. You can actually get into all these lignocellulosic part of the manure. And that's what we are going to go and tell you about. So you can see now, instead of getting 45 to, if you're very lucky, 50% carbon conversion, you get 80%. So now the whole game is different. You have much less left. And then another thing, you still have your nutrients, but a very, very important thing here is that we have now actually made a very big business case for using this in it. And I want to say, I heard today, you told me that you don't have a gas line here close by, but you have a lot of land. So I was thinking, you should not waste your waste, because if you produce electricity, like you said, we cannot because we cannot use it, you can have a big data center out here that you sell for a very high price. And now you are dealing and you have a CI score so low, and your renewable natural gas is going to be so much worse.
That's coming.
Okay, I gave you a very good business case here. Now Elno is going to come, and because he's the one who did a lot of the research. Elno, you had not to cut it a little short, I think you have to.
Yeah, 62.
We're planning it, actually.
Good, good. Come and talk to me. I'm an expert this now. You will see how pre-treatment, what it does.
Yeah, I very much want to know about it.
Uh, Hello everyone, I'm Noor, Sector the City Associate working, working with Professor Ahrin in WSU. I'm presenting this work on behalf of my of the project team, Dr. Muhammad Usman and Professor Ahrin, and also Dr. Garcia. Sorry, yes.
Always close your phone.
In this presentation, actually, we are focusing on reducing improved bioenergy production or biogas. At the same time, improving the greenhouse gas emission or reducing the greenhouse gas emission, plus generating healthy bedding materials. I can say that manure is good. Manure actually is a valuable resource that can be used for different applications. It can be used to produce feedstock for bioenergy production. You can use it to produce like fiber for building materials, or it can be used recycled back to the farm as bedding materials. However, manure actually is still underutilized because, for example, using manure to produce biogas usually associated with reduced energy yield. Because actually manure, most of it is cellulose materials. And that cellulose material to be degraded, it takes long time, for example, longer retention time. So we need to come up with idea to make it faster, like degradation rate, and using more biogas. Also using manure as bedding material actually is associated with potential animal health issues. For example, bacterial infection such as mastitis, that causing actually a lot of loss for the dairy farms. In this project, actually, we're coming up with the idea using advanced pre-treatment technology to improve the biogas yield and reducing the greenhouse gas emission and generating healthy bedding materials. Actually, our target manure fiber is manure separated from the liquid using a screw plate separator and getting almost like around 27% solid, and we target that manure to produce energy, and we pre-treated this manure. Actually, after we collected manure at different times, we didn't notice like big variation between the manure composition, and as we can see here in this table, like most of the material in manure is lignocellulosic materials, lignin, cellulose, and hemicellulose. That material, when we digest using like conventional anaerobic digestion system, we get low biogas and also generating a lot of digestate. That digestate also need to be handled and costly. So we come up with the idea of using pre-treatment, and thanks to Dr. Ahrin for having a state-of-art like pre-treatment technology. We have a bioreactor system. We can use for thermal pre-treatment or thermochemical or oxidation pre-treatment, and also the pilot plant scale. We have standard systemic solution and can be also coupled with the advanced oxidation. So we pre-treated manure at different times first actually to establish our right or appropriate parameters for the pre-treatment. We did optimization studies. And then our result shows that actually pre-treating manure at 175 degrees Celsius for 20 minutes, adding 5 to 60% oxidizer oxygen or hydrogen peroxide, you can get good result in terms of biogas and solid reduction or carbon conversion. Actually, after we did just this example of some of pre-treatment, advanced wind oxidation and steam solution. After pre-treatment, actually, we increased the solubilized organic material height, and also around 18% of the volatile solid will be solubilized and degraded during the pre-treatment alone. What like higher solubilized organic materials, that mean we have faster degradation rate for the biogas yield. For example, if you have digester, if you need to operate it just directly using the waste, maybe more than 20 days to get like nice biogas yield and will not be visible at all. So more solubilized material, faster degradation rate, and then you can handle like a lot of material. Also, actually, we notice when you solubilize the material, you get a higher methane content. We increase the methane content by 10%, and also the methane yield also will be increased. And later I'll show this data. Actually, after the optimization, we did a lot of AD experiments in batch and semi-continuous processes, and our result actually shows that we getting two optimal pre-treatment condition or methods. For example, pre-treating manure using wet oxidation pre-treatment at just 3% hydrogen peroxide at 175 degrees Celsius, or using advanced wet oxidation resistant solution. These two pre-treatment can be used for manure solid and actually increasing the methane yield around 2.7 times compared to control reactor for conventional system. Also, actually, after pre-treatment, methane content increased sharply. 10% of the methane, definitely like higher methane content will be higher heating value. And also, if we need to upgrade to methane to natural gas, as Dr. Ahring said, so will be like also less cost. Because when you have more methane content, that means if you need to upgrade it, will be definitely reduce cost. Also, this figure shows the methane content distribution. This figure actually emphasizes the need for the optimal pre-treatment condition. You will not go just let us to pre-treat the manure and getting good results. So when the pre-treatment is not right, that means you can degrade the material and then you're getting less methane content and also getting less biogas yield. Actually, after pre-treatment, we did a composition analysis for the solid material, total solid, lignin content, and volatile solid. Actually, the total solid reduced by 63% after the pre-treatment compared with the control. So we have like big reduction in the solid, and that means also a lot of reduction will be associated with the greenhouse gas emission. And mainly for cellulosic material, actually cellulose and hemicellulose. Cellulose reduced by 73% and hemicellulose also can be reduced about 85%. So most of the cellulosic material during AD process like actually reduced. Actually also we did greenhouse gas emission analysis and using commit farm analysis and tracing method, we compared for example the typical manure management practices, for example using stocking or legumes. Using like conventional AD process, you can reduce around 65% of the methane. Later, actually, we compare the conventional AD. We have control reactor with the enhanced like AD process. We can reduce also more around 30% of the methane. That means actually good result to use advanced pre-treatment technology to cut your greenhouse gas emission. And also further, we did some microbial analysis from the manure, from liquid manure and manure solid. We use some indicator species that usually cause the mastitis, E. coli and coliform and intercosmos environment. So actually after pre-treatment, almost like none of the investigated pathogens were detected in the pre-treatment solid. So when digesting the solid and recycling it back to the barn, that means we have pathogen-free building materials. So no worry about the pathogen problems. In conclusion, actually applying this process, we can increase the methane yield by 207 times, and also increasing the methane content, and reducing the solid in the first stage actually by 18%. In the AD process, we can reduce it by 65% or 63%. And also reducing the greenhouse gas emission around 65% compared to the conventional practices for the manure management. Actually, short presentation, and in this slide I would like to thank Lindsay Parish and Dr. Carrick for helping us to do some investigation of pathogenic analysis. Thank you so much for attention.
Okay. Thank you, Alor. Thank you. So, Dr. Brigid, you want to say anything else before we?
No, I would love to have some questions.
Yeah, is there any question for Dr. Brigid or Alnor? Yes.
So there's a cost to the pre-treatment. How does that pencil out? I assume the benefits far outweigh the cost, or
Yes, the benefits far
and
outcome
the
the cost.
technology is not is fairly accessible, not a big
The
deal.
technology did like this that maybe you saw in the beginning. We also have a company as part, Clean Vantage. Clean Vantage was a company I was part of establishing that basically market this technology. So together with other technology, I also have another technology that on a license from Washington State University, where we take the CO2 that is in the gas and make it into more methane. We get 100% more in the end again, and we do that. We need hydrogen for that, but you know, there is no doubt in my mind, hydrogen is coming down slowly in cost, and the hydrogen will be there at one time at one, and then it's an amazing process.
Thank you.
Okay? Yes?
Thanks, David. Any other question? Okay, I think we're good.
Good.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you very much.
Okay, I think we're going to turn now to Michael and team for rodeo. Yeah, so meantime, if you want to use bathroom, restroom, sorry, just, yeah, please, then we'll get into the truck you see here with the trailer. That's where we are going to sit down and then just get going, yeah. Okay, let's move to the truck. Yeah.
That's expensive, but they were like,
then the emission will increase a lot. Because with only 5 to 7% emission, we're getting 30% more methane. Yeah, 30% more, no doubt. It's containing the nitrogen and phosphorus, but in the meantime, 30% increase in methane emission. Yeah, so
That's super interesting.
Yes,
I never
like-
hear that. Do you guys have something published, or is it like you're working on this data?
Oh, we are doing the project, and
Okay, I'm
we
going
are
to be
going
on
to
this
publish
trailer
it
here.
soon.
Okay.
Yeah, but definitely we are doing anaerobic digestion and this different things. We can definitely collaborate.
Do you want to like take it or like with the stand? I think I would like remove.
Yeah, you can take it from the stand. That should.
Thank you.
Here, can you? Oh wait, no, it's already on. Can you click this too? Or sure.
I think it's. You got it? Okay.
And best.
So it is
one of the strategies we will be implementing here this summer with the biochar that will be aligned with these sensors and really understand what our emissions are for these cattle, because that's ultimately what we're trying to accomplish here, is what is the enteric emissions of that farm. We've done a lot of manure management work to understand the manure management emissions. That's what we're going to work on right now. We've done some maybe just overall management work when it comes to the diesel usage. We've gone all electric on our mixers. We've been electric as much as we can. Just again, for us, it's about maintaining and utilizing all the nutrients. We call them greenhouse gases. We call them whatever we want. It's us and fertilizer. We need it and we want it. So on the enteric side, we're really trying to. That's what the So part of what we're going to do here that is relevant to this area is when we have the biochar, we'll introduce the biochar as soon as we can. We want biochar to touch shit as soon as the shit becomes shit. Because that's when we will start to save it. In this process, no matter how cool our worms are, no matter how dialed in our composting process is, from what you see hitting the concrete here, as it gets flushed, as it gets separated, as it gets composted, as it goes to the worms, we're going to lose some of those nutrients. We're going to lose some of that. Our hope, our thesis is if we can introduce biochar maybe in the bedding, would be the first place. So these cows have water beds, but we're struggling right now to compost on each one of these water beds every single day. Maybe we do that with biochar. So as soon as that shit becomes shit, it starts mixing with that biochar, and that biochar will clean onto all those nutrients and not let them go to the air, and we can hopefully keep, and as a result, we'll have compost that's more nutrient dense, we'll have more calcium, and have more nutrients because we have not let that go to the air. Sorry, I forgot to point out the sensors here. We just passed one just above the peak. Another one up here on the left. I believe these ones on the right, these are more just networking things. Others, you can do a lot better than setting it. This one's just for networking. So these ones on the left side are actual sensors. Any questions? I can talk all day. Did anyone hear me? Alright, that's good. Wood chips. We have 3 biochar machines. 2 of them will be wood chips, orchard, cherry wood chips. We'll be experiments, homes, cherry pits, these other systems that we have on our farm. Right now, we should be playing with potatoes and peas and everything else that is cheap, free, and tons of.
What?
So over here, just for the sake of the tour, for context, this is our kitchen. We feed, out of this kitchen, we're feeding obviously these 6,000 cows. We got about 8,000 young stock members here, and then we got some of our beef animals here too. So we're feeding around, and even our cattle on pasture will get fed out of this kitchen. So we're feeding probably 25 or 30,000 head out of this kitchen here. We are in the process of making an automated feed center. So those bins are not yet in use, but what we will end up doing is all of those bins will drop onto scales, onto a belt with scales. And we will feed. We're good, I'm good. The only, so if you're not familiar, you see that loader, maybe you don't. Now you see the loaders. As part of their future dairy farms initiative, and then they're going to read, and we always do, is read the shrink on that, because based on the shrink, we'll be able to determine again how much we're saving. Shrink is obviously bad for everybody, but in these conversations it's bad because that's a lot of nutrients that we've grown, that we put resources into, that we're losing to the air, and we don't want that. We want to the stuff that we can't digest into protein. And these will all be fed automatically via the 5 pounds. Juan there is really, really good, but his computer doesn't even tell him to switch until it's hit 25 or 50 pounds. So that's shrink. That's all shrink right there. Plus everything we're losing, flow, and everything else. But these are all going to be the bins. Everything behind me is what we grow on the farm. Everything around here. These are all what we grow on the farm. My dad is a potato farmer, so the farm. But that means he grows once every 5 years. In the meantime, he grows rotation to keep the soil healthy and sustainable. This corn, triticale, alfalfa. This is actually Timothy. We got alfalfa in the front. We got dry alfalfa, solid alfalfa. All of those are what support our soils. As a farmer, is what we're growing are sustainable. Anytime. This is a general statement, but anytime you're growing something that our digestive system can handle, vegetables, vegetables meaning potatoes, onions, carrots, those products really put a lot of pressure on the soil. Aside from the fact that you have to dig those and completely till the hell out of your soil to even get them out of the ground, those products put a lot of pressure on the soil. You cannot plant vegetables for human consumption back to back to back to back if you want to be farming for the next decades and decades. So here what you see is the strategy of our rotation. You see the products we're growing intentionally in order to support our soils. The cattle, their roles is they upcycle that into protein. and make that work financially for the farm. Otherwise, it's really hard to justify just growing 5 years worth of zero revenue crops so that you can plant potatoes once every half a decade. The other thing you see here is byproducts. Cattle, and specifically when we talk about CAPOs, combined animal feeding operations, large cattle operations like we're in, that you don't get enough credit for the byproducts that are upcycled in these systems. Or we're going to talk compost. Composting is a direct correlation to these types of systems. So in our strategy we have the beef animals. We have some grazing strategies that we implement. We're really excited about getting that going with our beef animals. But when it comes to the dairy cows, these byproducts, if they make disappear, are really, really beneficial to the whole economy here. Furthermore, the composting that we're able to include because of this type of operation is really, really a positive part of our strategy when we're talking about sustainability and incorporating all these different pieces in order to reduce what we lose to the air and maintain it and get it to our soil. Any questions? Michael, you got anything to add?
You want it?
Please ask questions. I've told guys to go all day, and I will. The drone? Usually if I didn't see the person driving, I'd shoot it down. No, I think it's just for the video. Is that what you're asking, the drone? I think it's just for social media. I don't know. I think so. It's just for fun. Oh, he's doing live Google, YouTube right now. I mean, we have brought big drones here to do some of the similar. You can get these sensors kind of on drones, and you can start reading. So we have a satellite subscription that reads the what's coming off the soil. Now it's not dialed in. It can put it in different colors, but it can't define what those different colors mean. So part of what we hope to do with this information is to plug that into a satellite, and now you can tell, okay, green means this, orange, red, yellow means this. Calibrate that intelligent people use to be able to calibrate what those drones do. Because these drones, you can read what's the technology that methane sensing. You can actually sense the gas coming off the facility and off the soil. So to be able to calibrate that will be an exciting next step to what we'll be planning.
Mayor.
Yeah. Everything here is from the family farm. I don't.
Okay?
I mean, I'm not my brother runs potatoes, but it's all from the family farm. Everything is not
Okay. Okay.
or the byproduct from the system already. So that's another reason why the byproducts are so valuable to us, because in a lot of ways we see that as it's from a mass balance. We're obviously shipping fruit, vegetables, and proteins off of our farm, so we need to bring nutrients on site. No magic to this, and we see a lot of that coming in the byproducts from really the whole region. So we got about 4 different processing facilities that bring us all their byproducts, and cheap feed for our cattle. That's a nutrient fusion into our whole system. Oh yeah. Good rotations bring that same concept from the air. I mean, we're excited. That's it.
Yeah, so we'll replace that. That is all full circle in that regard, right? But we're increasing from these other locations, from other farms that produce this product.
Correct, but I think what the important part is that we balance cattle to acreage. I mean, that's really the broader conversation when people are trying to pretend like cattle are destroying the planet. An imbalance of cattle to the local soils might be not beneficial, but balancing cattle to the soils, and I'll say in my rough observation, not enough cattle in the Columbia Basin in order to support everything we needed to do. We don't need to go too far. You know, you got portions of the state that have gone too far, and that's not good either. But at the end of the day, you need that balance because the ruminants are a huge loop. Any other questions?
How many tons of this farmyard manure you produce annually?
Say it again.
How many tons of farmyard manure?
Manure.
Yeah.
From this operation?
Yeah.
Wet or compost? So when it's wet, it's about double. So we'll send about 120,000 tons of manure. That's wet manure out to our composting.
For your farming.
Oh, and then we use most of that back on our farms, but we will sell some of that to some of our partners and the orchards and some of that. But so yeah, does that answer your question?
No.
Do you use like any strategy to like identify a cow which is like having some disease like in an earlier stage, like so that it doesn't spread to the like the nearby cows?
So we have one mother dairy farm, and we just put on the collars.
Okay.
So there's a lot of different technology, a lot of different companies that have different recordings. So the collars, we just bought 7,000 collars, and they have the same technology.
Oh.
Whatever you call that little mechanism that tells you when to turn and whatnot. So with that mechanism, it's literally a collar. It sits on their neck, and when they're eating, that mechanism turns just so that it sends us that information that's a rumination period.
Okay.
When they're sick, their collars are going to have a different adjustment, a different movement than their norm, and that's going to tell us that they're maybe showing signs of early sickness.
Okay.
When they're in heat, they're going to be more frisky, they're going to be more excitable, and that collar is going to have. So we have 5 different readers on that collar, which will then send, and we'll be doing it here, but that farm then, as soon as those cows come out of the barn, automatically the collars are going to be red, and it'll sort those cattle into any one. So if they are sick, before eyes can tell you they're sick, that gate will send them to a certain take temperatures and dig deeper.
Okay.
So by the end of this summer, we'll have that incorporated here too, but we're just getting it dialed in.
Okay.
Can you add the virtual fence to that?
Yeah, that one, it's a different technology because it's just the battery life. So the virtual fence, the only challenge, these collars will last the whole life because the battery life is not as limited. The virtual fence, you'll have to change that every year or year and a half, which will be fun, but that's the biggest constraint.
So is it like kind of solar charged, like the patch that you put? Like
no, it just has a battery.
Oh, okay.
And the battery lasts a long time. I don't know.
Okay.
How do you move the manure? To collect it, how do you collect it? Do you use a scraper or do you also use water?
So here, those big towers on the back side, we passed one, but this is a big toilet. So as soon as these cows get milked, we push a button and we flush that pen, just like your toilet flushes your poop. We flush that poop. These crates right here catch 100% of that, and then we collect it all over here. What's getting flushed though, recyclable. All come out of the worm. So we're flushing with cleanish water post-worm, which has been a huge benefit because flushing with dirt is a good thing for the can. That's a good way to lose methane and ammonia to the air. But this is where we're at right now. But these cows here got milked at like 8 o'clock this morning, and so these lanes just got completely cleaned out. We took the tractor to flush a water flush. It won't come to here. Here we got slope screens. There's the slope screens. Those are coming out. So we have 2 types of mechanical separators. You see right there the soil coming out. This soupy mess here, we call that shit water for good reason. That goes into here. Those screens, that fiber that's coming out that belt, they pull that out. Those other screens to the right, screw presses, those pull out a little bit more solids out of the water. And then the rest of that liquid water is sent and are all collected right here, and all of that will be composted by the end of next week. Well, it'll initiate the compost process by the end of next week.
And how many, like, do they provide milk like all 12 months in a year?
They do. I mean, you're always working through cattle.
Okay.
So we are milking 12 times a year. These cows here, for example, will probably go dry here in the next 150 days.
Okay.
But there will be cows to replace them.
Okay.
So we'll be making milk. These cows won't be making milk. They'll have a dry period where they go that the third trimester of their pregnancy. They will just grow that calf.
Okay.
And they'll freshen, and then they'll go back to work.
Like, how do you manage the calves? Like,
you'll see.
Okay.
We just exactly how much they need.
Okay.
Instead of guessing how much they're getting.
Okay.
One of these enough milk for probably 6 babies. So that's the reason why we want to feed. We'll feed them a little bit of mama's milk, but then we'll save the rest, and it'll go.
So do you use the female calves to like kind of refill them, or like do you just like what do you do with the calves?
The calves are going to get milk just out of these cows.
Okay. Like what after they grew up? Like
what's that?
What after they grow up? Like, do you refill them or do you send it for like beef or something?
Oh, all the girls that are born out of these, those are going to be the replacements for these cows.
Okay.
All the boys that there's something called sex semen. So we breed the semen to determine what gender we're going to get. So if we breed this black and white cow, assuming she's awesome, we're going to breed her to a Jersey, and her offspring is going to be next generation of the dairy.
Okay.
This Jersey cow that's licking, she's annoying. She licks too much.
Okay.
We don't want her next generation.
Okay.
So we're going to breed her to an Angus boy.
Okay.
So she's going to deliver an Angus boy, and that's going to be part of the ranch.
Okay.
That'll be part of the beef that we do raise directly for beef. And that will be part of the strategy that we graze with.
Okay.
So those animals will be able to get away from home. These animals will stay close to home, and their offspring will eventually live here.
Okay.
Any other questions? We'll keep moving. Yes, there you go. So this is an example. This one, 15 minutes ago. So now it's clean for the next 12 hours when the cows are going to live. They get locked up for 150 days, and then they start slowing. farm in the goofy category that you want to put it in, so you can call it the biggest in the world. So, yeah, it's the biggest worm farm in the world.
Heritage site.
Huh?
Heritage site.
What's that?
Heritage site. One like special location.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we can. Do we want to jump out, Michael?
Yeah, probably.
If we can jump off here and do a little experiment. On the back, we can move a straw bale so that it's an easier step. Good? Thank you. We can walk around.
So Austin probably told you, you're standing right in the smack dab center of the smelliest part of the farm. The collect pit's pretty bad, but this right here is our 40 million gallon lagoon. It's not a bad day. There's not much. I don't know if you can smell it. I don't smell it anymore. But it's in this side we have the worm farm. Okay, it's about 3 or 4 feet of wood chips, and then there's a pallet layer, and then there's a drain on the bottom, and that's about it in terms of what it's made of. There's the layer separated, but that's the filtration media, and that's the system that's in place here for about 7 acres here at this dairy. And then the water obviously gets irrigated onto the filtration media through all the like this, and you can see if you want, if anybody's brave enough, they can smell this. There's going to be some smell coming off of that. But essentially it starts out dirty, right? Lots of solids. Even you can see the fiber in there. You can see kind of all of that. After our mechanical separation systems, it gets down to where it is about 60, 70, and once the liquid manure gets through this process, the capacity to create methane is nearly 100% removed. WSU has actually been out here doing those studies. I don't remember if it's from WSU, but
I remember her face. What's her name?
it's a completely separate, because it's not.
Your team.
It's a separate department though.
Is it Washington?
No, it's WSU.
No, it's Wazoo.
For sure.
Yeah, Huskies have to ask extra permission to come on.
and they have to pay. But what we're left with, without adding anything else, the wood chips absorb or process and collect all of the manure. Should have. That's just worms. That's,
Yeah, I'll go.
So in the media, Michael mentioned the wood chips. All wood chips are coming from the orchard. So again, kind of this diversified farming operation. So this
this farm here, this 7 acres, will market for 10. Apples and cherry trees and pears in Washington State now have a home. As of last year, or the year before, as of 2023, 75% of the retired orchards. When I say retired orchards, that means nobody buys Red Delicious anymore, nobody buys Goldens, nobody buys Grannies. So those orchards come out and you replace them with Cosmic Crisp. Yeah, go Cougars. All right. So that's what is making up these beds. Now, when we bring on full-scale biochar, we'll be able to build a market for almost 100% of the retired orchards annually from Washington State, which is huge. Because as I was saying, in 2023, 75% of the orchards just were burned because that was the only option. I mean, you can't, if you got no market, you can't afford to put in another $500 an acre in order to make a chip so that you can for mice for the next 10 years. So being able to use these wood chips, upcycle them, this time through cattle. We'll upcycle the grass through cattle, wood chips to green water through worms, and turn the wood chips into more fertilizer. All that carbon, again, we want it in our, it's fertilizer, we want it in our soil.
How long does it take to complete the process?
It's about a year. Every year we'll harvest, so you see the long arm excavator on the back side there, that is harvesting the wood chips that we put in last year. This time, maybe even a little more than that. It's usually a year, 18 months. So we'll harvest those. Those are going to look a lot like all of these are fresh. So all of these are still lots of wood chips. You can pull out the wood chips in about a year or a little less. It'll start turning into something more like this. It'll start being more castings. More. That's what Michael's got. So this is the process through worms, through that biological filter for 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 months.
The wood chips have degraded to almost nothing. It's super flimsy, and it will degrade over time to almost nothing, right?
Is that more composting than the worms of, natural degradation?
Yeah, natural degradation.
The worms
but also,
aren't eating the chips.
That's correct.
Right.
The worms go through,
And what worms do is their mouth is more like a vacuum than it is like ours. They don't have teeth, right? So they slurp up all of the solids, not the chips themselves, but the solids, the exudates from the chips, right? As they're getting soaked and saturated with that manure, they start breaking down and releasing different compounds. The worms go through there, soak it all up. They breathe and drink and do all that through their skin. So what they do is they suck it up and then condense it down. And their manure is full of like auxin, cytokine, interferons, all sorts of good hormones, growth hormones for plants. And then they make almost all of the nutrients bioavailable to plants as well. So what we have left in our hands or in the beds when we harvest is a really, 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 really good, almost potting soil type of product. And we can even, if we got time, we can go see what that looks like even on the back end of the compost. But if anybody wants to come smell this, there's almost, there's no smell. There's nothing. This is kind of
That's the finished product?
This is the finished product.
So if you guys didn't smell this one because we can smell ammonia from a professor once. Not the methane. We're gonna smell methane apparently. Anyway, you smell the ammonia, but
The H2S.
H2S. Thank you. H2S and the other 3-letter thing. Something works a lot of your minds. I'm not that to that level. I don't think this instantly it won't stink. The biology is so exciting to me that it instantly kind of starts breaking it down and converting it into something that we in our soil and not lose.
and
Well, it's kind of like a biofilter.
yeah, that's exactly what it is. That's his biofiltro is the name of the company.
You'd have the that reaction.
Yep. So you can actually see it there. It's sucked in material and it's breathing the liquid out of its skin.
Huh.
To answer your question, we've got Acinia petita and Acinia andre, both redworms, California redworms. The Acinia andre likes a little bit more of a high carbon environment, and the Acinia fetida like a little bit more of a high nitrogen content. I might have those switched actually. I might have said them switched. But they both work in tandem here within the worm beds to process all of our manure.
And unlike our cattle, we like to hybrid the worms too, so we have hybrids.
It's very possible. It does happen. So worms are hermaphroditic. This is a male and female worm and another male and female worm. They're both adults because turn them over here, you can see they've got what's they're telling the kind of collar right here on front end, the head end of the worms. They will both kind of intertwine, mate with each other, and both become pregnant. They can each lay a cocoon 51 weeks out of the year. Coffee just for fun, right? All year. They're laying each maybe they're just on New Year's, so they like 3 populations